orchids. Beautiful, captivating and luxurious, these stunning blooms were favoured by nobility and royalty in Victorian England, even sparking a craze for collecting the rarest specimens. The Victorians became so obsessed with orchids that in true Victorian fashion, they created a faux Greek myth of Orcus, the son of a nymph and a satyr. A version of this myth is that Orcus took advantage of a follower of Dionysus, the god of wine, and angered by this atrocity, Dionysus had Orcus torn apart by wild beasts. It was thought that wherever Orcus's blood was spilt upon the earth, orchids sprung up and flowered. This fascination with orchids continues to this day. Did you know there's a National Orchid Day on April the 16th? I didn't until I started researching orchids for this video. Hello and welcome to a millinery hat trimming video. My name is Ilona, I am a milliner based in London, and today I will show you how I make my Phalaenopsis orchids for trimming hats. I will be using my flower tools, but you can also follow this tutorial using a spoon instead. Are you sufficiently intrigued? Well, don't forget to like, subscribe and click that notification bell for more millinery antics. Now, let's get those flower tools or spoons out and get started. For your tools and materials, you will need my Phalaenopsis orchid pattern, which is available from the link in the description box. It's also available to my wonderful Patreons who help support my channel with their ongoing donations. If you'd like to sign up to join them and help finance my tutorial videos, the link for that is in the description box. You will notice that the pattern pieces are labelled as parts of a real orchid, and I will be using different fabrics for these different parts of the flower to add an extra dimension to the design. Speaking of fabrics, fibre choices are super important. You want to make sure that you are using 100% natural fibres, as anything synthetic such as polyester will melt from the heat of your flower tools. I will be using a 100% silk Dupion in red for the lip and anther cap of my orchid, a silk and viscose gold velvet for the sepals, and another 100% silk Dupion, this time in light gold for the petals and as a general backing fabric. You can of course change these up to vary the textures in your orchid creations. I have done just that in these blue and gold ones I made earlier. As you can imagine, the fabric combination possibilities are endless. You will also need some Bondaweb accompanied by a pen or pencil. Bondaweb is a fusible glue that comes spread between sheets of non-stick paper. Some 0.4mm cotton-covered millinery wire. This will be used to make the petals opposable, meaning that you will be able to play with the shape of your finished orchid and place each petal individually. Some sharp scissors for cutting out fabric. I have really been enjoying using these Frisco's sprung scissors, which are really easy on the wrist. Some glass seed beads, which we will use in the centre of the lip of each flower. A needle and thread. Some waxy floristry tape. I have chosen red to match my red silk Dupion colour. Some PVA glue, which will help secure the floristry tape in place. Mine is a strong PVA from an artist's supply store, but standard white, craft, wood or school glue still also works. And then, for the exciting flower tools, you will need a sponge covered in some natural fabric. My sponge came from some packaging, but I have also used car wash sponges in the past. Just don't forget to cover whatever sponge you use in a natural fibre fabric. This can be silk or, in my case, cotton calico. For the flower tools, I will be using a 2.5cm ball tip in my Weller soldering iron. I did a live stream a while back where I went through various flower making nibs, so I will link to that in the top right. If you don't have flower tools, then a hot steam iron and a common metal spoon will do just the same thing. For making the Phalaenopsis orchid, first trace all the pattern pieces onto your Bondaweb paper. Remember to include all the grain lines. We want to make sure the pattern pieces are cut out on the bias. As I am varying the colours of my orchid, I have set aside the lip and anther cap pieces to be bonded to the red silk Dupion. Everything else I have bonded to the light gold silk Dupion, which is my general backing fabric. Once bonded and cooled, cut out all the pieces following your drawn-on shapes, and then peel off the backing paper. I have already cut several lengths of millinery wire. You will need a wire for each petal and sepal. Place the wires onto the sepals. And now it's time to get the silk velvet out. Place a piece of silk velvet over the top of each sepal and wire. Then press and steam with the iron to sandwich everything together. I am also going to back my red anther cap with the same velvet. When you press with the iron onto the velvet, you might get some texture from the nap of the velvet being disturbed. I think this is a really nice effect and gives some variation to the flower. However, if you wanted your velvet to stay smooth, use a pressing cloth. For the left and right petals, I have placed my wires just as before, but this time I am backing them onto the same light gold silk Dupion. So my petals are the same fabric on both sides. These are the only parts of my orchid that are backed in the same fabric as their fronts. For the red lip of the orchid, I need to cut some tiny lengths of wire to crisscross from the top to bottom and side to side. Then I will back this in the velvet, once again sandwiching those wires in place. And while I'm here, I might as well cut it out following the lines of the red silk Dupion. The reason we put the crisscross wires into the lip is so that it can be bent into a squiggly shape without the need for flower tools. So I am just bending in the sides and creating a ripple through the top to the bottom. I will also cut out the anther cap. This part is really small, so try not to lose it once it is cut out. Here is what all the parts of my orchid look like before assembly. The 3 sepals go on the very back, the 2 petals are layered over them, and then the lip and anther cap are placed on the very top. You could technically stop here, twist all the wires together, and you will have a perfectly lovely Phalaenopsis orchid. However, I am going to give a little more dimension to mine with my flower tools. I have heated up my 2.5cm ball nib, and I am going to tool and twist right into the center of each petal, making sure the sponge cups around the petal and little flutes form in the edges. Now, if you don't have flower tools, here is how to use a metal spoon for the same effect. First, heat your petal with a steam iron. Then, working fast, transfer it to the sponge, hover over with some more steam and press the back of the spoon into the center of the petal. Lift the sponge to create that same cupping effect you saw me do with the ball tool nib. Here is a comparison side by side. My flower tooled petal is on the left and the spoon tooled petal is on the right. The left petal definitely has a more cupped shape with more fluting at the edges, but I would argue that the right one is just as passable. I think once your whole flower is assembled, the spoon will have given your petal just enough 3D-ness and it will be just as pretty as using the professional flower tools. Now let's sew it all together. First, add some beads to the velvet side of the anther cap. I have sewn on 3 glass seed beads in a gold colour. Then sew the anther cap to the red side of the lip. I made a little mistake here. I should have placed the anther cap higher up the lip like I did on these blue and gold orchids I made earlier. Now twist together the two petals. There is no need to twist all the way down the wires, just a few twists to join the wires together will do. Separate the petals outwards and sew on the lip. Once again, my mistake here, I should have sewn the lip lower down, but it just goes to show that it doesn't really matter exactly how you place the parts of your orchid together. The end result will still look more or less like an orchid, as this flower has such a unique and recognizable shape. Next, twist the sepals together. Remember, there is a right sepal and a left sepal, so separate those out into their correct sides once you have put in the few first twists. Once again, there is no need to twist all the way down the wire. Twist the sepal cluster to the petal and lip cluster. I'm going to add in a little beaded decoration here to give it an added flair. This, of course, is optional. For the last step, take your waxy floristry tape and dab a little PVA glue onto a diagonally cut end. Wrap this down the entire length of the wires. Once you get to the end, keep twisting and the paper will naturally taper off. And here is the finished Phalaenopsis orchid, executed in gold and red silk dupion with pale gold silk velvet. Here it is, set on a medium button beret in stunning bright red wool felt. I have added a trim of a large diamond gold veil. This sweet little cocktail hat is part of my Autumn-Winter 2023 collection. I think this hat is perfectly suited to a confident person who isn't afraid of colour. Perhaps worn with a red wool jacket or even some striking leopard print. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more millinery tutorials, commentary and live streams. Thank you all so much for watching. See you next time. Bye!